Good afternoon, students. This is Dr. Ganesham Chavan. Today, we will give light on the topic role of clinical pharmacist in clinical trial. What is clinical pharmacist? The pharmacist who is work in clinical trial is called as clinical pharmacist. Nowadays, clinical pharmacist is having a major role in clinical trial. He is also called as principal investigator. Under his leadership, there is a team of clinical trial health workers. It includes the physicians, after that, nursing staff, ward boy, clinicians, pathological analyst, and so on. Now, in this, what is the role of that clinical pharmacist that we will discuss here? The first is consulting. He is having always the consulting authority with the various doctor, physicians, health workers. He analyzing the therapies. Means suppose if you have to start the therapy of cancer or tuberculosis or amoebiasis, any sort of therapies. So the pharmacist always having a great role how to plan that therapy, what drug we should start with, what is the condition of the patients. According to that, they will plan the therapies and they will also design the planning programs for how many days we have to give that drug, at which dose, which drug we should start, which are the best usable drugs who is having high efficacy. By considering all these things, the pharmacist will decide the therapies and he will advise the healthcare practitioners, especially medical practitioners, physicians, doctors, consultants. So he will give his advice regarding the prescribing the drugs to the physician, means what drug we should include in that prescriptions, what you should not include, why you should exclude that drug, that all these things, means he will do discussion with the practitioners on the correctness of the drug therapy, means which drug is suitable for that typical therapy and why it is suitable. There will be communication or consultation between that physician and the pharmacist, so that the correct drug should be prescribed into that prescriptions. And providing pharmaceutical care to optimizing the patient's outcome, we must give the good pharmaceutical care so that the patient will get good outcomes from that, to patient both at hospital and at the community level. So at both the levels, the pharmacist will provide the good pharmaceutical care. Now, selection of drugs. Now here, defining drug formularies, in that we are selecting the drugs, means we are enlisting the drugs, we are making the list, and accordingly we are purchasing that drugs for the preparation of drug formularies. In that, we must know that which drugs may be more helpful in those conditions. Accordingly, we will already design that drug formularies and limited list of drugs. We must have that limited list of drugs. Out of them, we will use them for our patients in collaboration with hospital doctors, general practitioners, and decision makers. So, with along with the collaboration with doctors and practitioners and decision makers, the pharmacist will prepare a drug formularies. For that, he will check out the list of drugs which are beneficial, which are having more optimized effects, the drugs which are more safer, and in which critical condition which drugs we should go with. So accordingly, by doing all the discussion with the physicians, we'll make the list of drugs and we'll prepare the drug formularies. Now, drug information, seeking informations and critical evaluating scientific literature. Pharmacist always in touch with the current information regarding the case study, regarding the clinical data which are available into the literature. So he will always search with the literature is what are the new developments has been occur regarding the this therapy or regarding any disease, if any new drug has been discovered, or what are the consequences of that drug, which drug has been banned in last month or from last 1 year. So that all the list and all the information he is always gather, always evaluating scientific information by reading all the literature. Organizing information services for both the healthcare practitioners and the patients. He will always organize the information services centers. Means any sort of patients or doctors who is prescribing the drugs for the first time, who can also get information from these information centers from the pharmacist, because pharmacist is doing all the information regarding that typical drug. And also in case of OTC drugs, patient can also get information from the these pharmacy information centers. So the pharmacist will give the information regarding that drug, how to take that, when to take, either it is safe in that condition or not, whether it is suitable for that condition or not. So that all the information, all the queries can be solved by these information service centers. Another role of pharmacist or other function here, medication review. It is very very important and vital or major role of pharmacist here. Review medication chart. Before prescribing any drug, he must review that medication chart. The drug, whatever drug is going to be prescribed, what is review, what is information, what are its side effects, how it works, what is its mechanism of action, whether it is suitable for that drug or not, that patient or not. So all the data regarding that drugs which is going to be prescribed. So review has been done. It is called medication review. So he will prepare the chart. So for the typical disease, what drugs are suitable? So the safer drugs has been enlisted, and the chart will be prepared. And review medication history. This is very very important. Before writing any drug, before prescribing any medication, we must know the patient's medication history. First thing, that in last few months patient was suffering from any disease or not, first thing. And second, for that disease or for any disease, what medication that patient have taken, and whether that the drug was suitable for him or not, or if any medication have produced any adverse effects or any allergic condition in that patients, the doctors have to check out for that. Doctor or pharmacist, before prescribing that drug, he must check that drug have produced any adverse in the history or not. So that's why the review medication history is very very important. If you don't know his medication history, you cannot prescribe the drug blindly. Suppose that any drug like cefoxime, if you have prescribed for any bacterial infections, and if that drug have produced any allergic reactions on the skin, and due to which patient was having lots of problem, so we cannot prescribe the same drug, or even we cannot prescribe the drug from the same category, another drug, because sometimes the drug from the same category, another drug will produce the same allergic reactions, because a typical person may have allergens for that typical sort of chemical nucleus, due to which we had to change the nucleus, we had to change the molecular formula of that drug, to change the another, go for the another drug which having different molecular formula, having different nucleus, so that the patient may not have any allergic reactions. So here review medication history is very very important. Full chapter on this we must attend that, and we must go for that. And we can analyze the patients. So what was the condition of the patients, whether they are getting benefit of that medicine or not, that we can check out in this attending the rounds, and we are monitoring the patients. Drug use studies and research. So here, drug use studies, we must study the drug, how the drug is producing effects, whether they are producing effects fastly or slowly, how much time they are taking to produce their effects, that we can check here. Next point is pharmacoepidemiology. What is pharmacoepidemiology? When we are checking the effect of drug in large quantity of population, in large quantity of population, when you are checking the effect of that drug on that typical disease, it is called pharmacoepidemiology. For example, if you will study of the any typical drug in this COVID-19 conditions, because at large number of populations are suffering from this COVID-19, and if you are checking any drug in this condition in that large number of people, it would be the pharmacoepidemiology. And by studying that thing, we can making some conclusion by getting the information, by analyzing the use of that drug in on this typical disease in this large amount of peoples, we are making some conclusion. In Italy, lots of research work they are done. They are analyzing number of drugs, beginning from the flavir or remdesivir, and also they have went for certain drugs which are used for immunosuppressants drugs, some drugs which are used on the arthritis. So they have done lots of research, and they have made conclusion that this drug is more suitable and this drug is not that much suitable. Also, they have worked on hydroxychloroquine, because that drug was primarily, the lots of countries have purchased that drug for treatment of this COVID-19. But after a few days, they come to a conclusion that it is not that much worthwhile. It is not that much effective, it have produced some side effects in certain patients. So pharmacoepidemiology is a very very important thing to do the research on the large number of populations. And outcome research, after doing the research, what outcome we got, means what is the extraction of that research, which drug was have produced more effects, how the drug was uh, safe, or how the drug have produced good results into that large number of patients, and how many percentage of patients has been get benefit due to that drug, that we can check. It is called outcome of that research. Any research if you are doing, if it is having some outcomes, it may be positive or it may be negative. So here, by studying, by doing this research work, we may have this research outcomes. In any clinical trial, we are getting some research outcomes, and on that basis, we are taking the decisions that we should go with this therapy or not. Pharmacoepidemiology and vigilance in medicinal devices. Pharmacoepidemiology, these are nothing but the watchdogs on the clinical trial. They are always monitoring for adverse drug reactions, for adverse events. This is the team which is always watching for the adverse drug reactions in the patients, in ongoing research, in ongoing clinical trial, ongoing protocol. If any patient is having a small sort of adverse events or adverse reactions, that typical team is nothing but the pharmacovigilance team. And vigilance in medicinal devices, or if any vigilance occurs in medicinal devices what you are using, simply if you are using the x-ray, if you are using the MRI, any sort of medicinal devices if you are using, if that devices are producing any complication, any consequences, that also under the watchful eyes of pharmacovigilance department. And collection of data, if any problem is occurring, collection of data. And drug therapies, if drug therapies, if any uh, error is there during treatment, or during regarding time, regarding dose, their cost, if any cost is more, if you are giving cost effective therapy, that is also another issue. And patient outcomes through structured and scientific methods, and how the patients are taking that therapy, what is the patient's response. And after, if you are having good patient response, you may have good patients outcomes. If patients are not compelling with that, if patients are not having good, what you can say, good compliance with your therapy, so you may get not, you won't get good results. So good compliance will result into the more outcomes of your results. And structured and scientific methods, there are various scientific methods by which we are getting the results. Now, pharmacokinetic and pharmacotherapeutic drug monitoring, studying the kinetic of drugs and optimizing the dosage. During our clinical trial, always we are taking the samples, either it may be blood samples or sputum, or it may be the swab or mucus samples or biopsies, or any sort of samples we can take from our body, and we are check out. So, in case of BA-based study, bioavailability and bioequivalence study, we are always monitoring, first of all, the level of drug, how much it reaches to our blood, means how much its protein binding has been attained of that drug, and after that, how it leaves your body, from how many times it declined from your body, and after that, what is the loading dose. This is the one thing. And how it decreases your, if it is in case of viral, how it decreases your viral load, in case of bacteria, how it decreases your bacterial load, and how it produces the therapeutic effect into your body. So it is nothing but the pharmacokinetic and pharmacodynamic effects. So we are checking effect of that drug on our various organs, especially on our intestine, on our liver. We are checking its absorption, we're checking its distribution, metabolism, how time it's required for metabolism, and excretion, through which organ it excretes, mostly from the kidneys. 95% has been excreted, and how much percentage is required to excrete, how much time or days it required to completely excretion from our body. So these all data we are analyzing. It is nothing but the pharmacokinetic and pharmacodynamic study. In therapeutic drug monitoring, we are doing study of these things. And clinical trial, in that planning of the phase 1, beginning from the phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, we are planning of these clinical trials. We are going for the IND, investigational new drug, IND. After after IND, we are going for this clinical trial, and after clinical trial, we are going for the NDA, new drug applications. And in this first phase 1 clinical trial, how much quantity of patients we are taking in the second, how much we are taking, and what results we are getting in phase 1, whether we should proceed phase 2 or we should proceed phase 3 or not. That we are constantly we are monitoring that clinical trials, and we are proceeding ahead and ahead, and evaluating, we are evaluating the clinical trials whether they are in good direction or not. We are checking that clinical trials and participating in clinical trials. Constantly we are participating, we are communicating with the whole team, we are giving them guidance if they are having any critical issue. So we are try to sort out their issue, try to solve the issue, what is the problem has been occurred. So in this fashion, the pharmacists have a vital role, a very major role into our clinical trial. Is always helping the clinical trial, and they are giving guidance regarding the clinical trial if any problem will occur. Activities of, in that activities, next activity is pharmacoeconomy, using the result of clinical trial and outcomes studies to determine the cost effective evaluations. Yes, because in India lots of poor peoples are there. There are lots of numbers of people who are living below poverty line. So for them also we should give these life saving drugs. So accordingly we should have the better alternative for the correct medicines, for the effective medicines, and we have to find out that drug that which is cost effective drug, and we should try to analyze for the peoples who cannot purchase at high cost, and we should prepare that molecule for them and try to produce the drug at lower cost so that the drug can be purchased by any layer of peoples. Next is teaching and training, pre and postgraduate teaching and activities to provide training and education programs for pharmacists and for other health practitioners. So teaching and training, especially undergraduate students, you want to teach them what is clinical trial, what is role of pharmacist in that, how you have to get information, and also it inform students in postgraduates. In that also you can tell how clinical trials are running into the various industries, what is your role in that, what you have to work you have to do, and also after completion of your degree or postgraduates, you should also provide give them training, prior training before joining effectively. You should give them training for few months. 1 to 3 months is sufficient to give the training. They will work as a trainee, and by this ways you can polish them, you can polish their works, and you can tell them what is your role, how you have to work there, what are your responsibilities, and what are your abilities that you can widen their abilities there. So in this fashion you can teach and you can train to our pharmacists who are under development, means they are getting education, and also who have completed their education, to them also you can train them. So in this we have completed this teaching and training. Now we are discussing regarding the information source.